Well, good evening, guys. Here we are again on day 2 of Father to the Fatherless. I'm Curtis, and as you can see, I'm here on the job. I told you I'm a carpenter and a pastor, and you can see I'm here redoing a kitchen, uh, currently staining and clear coating some cabinets that I'm installing in this kitchen here for some really good customers, some friends of mine. And so wanted to come to you with just the thought for today. You know, this channel, my desire in this channel to begin with is to minister to younger men who are walking the path that I have walked without a dad. And so I'm here to try to be that for you, to stand in the gap and to give some words of wisdom and encouragement and comfort to you. Because life is hard. I know well life is hard. You know, the day and age we're living in, there's a loneliness epidemic. And, you know, if you were to talk to many people in a moment of honesty would tell you, you know, Curtis, I don't really know that I have one true friend that I can really talk to. So I'm hoping I can be that for you. If you don't have that, I'm hoping I can stand in the gap, and maybe God would use me to encourage you in a way that I have been encouraged from God and from others down through time. But either way, the thought that came to me today to share with you is how to be okay when your life is not okay. How to be okay when your life is not okay. You know, if you're a young man, and maybe, you know, this channel is primarily targeted at young men without a father, but I'm sure there are some ladies that will watch, and even some older men. So whoever you are, you're welcome here. I welcome you all, and you're part of the family. But especially for the young men, you know, life can often seem very turbulent. We run into storms, we run into hard times, we run into problems, turbulence. I've been through a lot of storms, and I'm sure you have too. If you're human and you live very long, you're going to go through some storms. And you know, if you grew up in a home without a father, or without a solid, healthy connection to a solid, healthy father, or parents in general. Sometimes it's mama, and mama has to be mama and daddy, unfortunately. Some folks grow up in homes where mama's everything, and thank God that mama's there to stand in the gap when there is no dad. But either way, the point I'm getting at is, for some of us, it can be very hard to navigate this life. When storms come up, when hard times come, when difficult seasons arise, you know, things can get out of control pretty quick, and you can feel like you're losing control and your life's falling apart. In fact, I've been in several times where my life did truly fall apart. When my dad died of cancer at 14 was one of those times when my life just fell apart and the downward spiral began. And either way, I want to give you some encouragement today. What do you do when your life is out of control? How to be okay when life is not okay. I have some good news for you that I'm learning, and I, you know, I don't come to you as someone who has arrived or has it all together, because guys, I'm just learning so much of this. But especially what I've been learning lately is concerning emotional neglect, or complex trauma. Some of us grew up in broken homes, and you didn't have a solid parental connection, and you didn't have anyone to really give you the tools to navigate life. Where you, in an ideal world with a, you know, healthy home and healthy parents, you would have been taught how to navigate life and how to handle your emotions, how to regulate yourself. You would have, you know, been given tools on how to deal with life on life's terms. But some of us did not get that. And now we're adults, and we cover it up, we mask it, we find coping mechanisms sometimes in the form of addictions. We just keep the music playing. We don't think about our underlying emotional state too much. In fact, some of us have shut down our emotions entirely, and we're just, white knuckling through life because we don't really understand why we don't feel good about ourselves or life, and why we're depressed and anxious and have a, hatred or shame complex, self-hatred, don't really believe in ourselves. It could be that you, like me, have some trauma issues from complex trauma, and you will need to look into that. And maybe you, for the first time today, you're hearing that, and I'm happy to open that door for you. But either way, I have a little bit of scripture here, and I want to give you some hope and some help from God's word and from my experience. So, in the Bible, in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 8, beginning in verse 23, I'm going to read you a few verses of a true story that happened here with Jesus and the disciples. So, Matthew chapter 8, and it's funny, there's actually about to be a storm outside here where I'm currently working. It's about to come up a storm as we're talking about storms. Anyway, Matthew 8, beginning verse 23. Now when he is Jesus, got into a boat, his disciples followed him. And suddenly a great tempest arose on the sea, so that the boat was covered with the waves, but he was asleep. Then his disciples came to him and awoke him, saying, Lord, save us, we are perishing. But he said to them, Why are you fearful, O you of little faith? Then he, Jesus, arose and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was a great calm. So the men marveled, saying, Who can this be that even the winds and the sea obey him? That's Matthew 8, verses 23 to 27, if you want to look at that on your own later. Now, I want to relate that to our lives today as men. You as a young man trying to figure out this life. If you come from a broken home without a father, without really a strong connection to a parent or someone who's really in your corner, I know how you feel when life happens. Here in the story we just read, there's a storm that comes up on the sea while they're in the boat, Jesus and his disciples. These are seasoned fishermen. They were no stranger to storms, but this was apparently a pretty bad storm because it scared them. It was a hard time. And, for us in our lives, you're going to have hard times come up. In fact, it becomes, if you look at it, if you want to be a little pessimistic about it, life in one sense is just an unbroken series of problems that you must face. Because we live in a sinful, fallen, broken world. So, if you're like me, you come from a broken home, you have these trauma issues you're not aware of. What I'm learning about myself is I don't have really good connection with my emotions. I don't really regulate my emotions very well. I never was taught how to do that in a healthy way. And so, you be tough. You be a man. You be a man and you be tough. You don't ever cry. You don't ever show emotion. You just, be tough. Be a man. That's what so often we're told. If you get any advice on manhood, that's about what you get. It's just, don't show emotion. Shut that down. Be tough. And I was talking to a good friend earlier. He's the most confident guy I know, and he was telling me, that really he too. He enjoys the thought of watching videos and being here on the channel because even he is not certain that he is all that he should be as a man and a dad. And I said, wow, you're the most confident person I know to look at you. I can't believe you too have, doubts and hard times. And he said, oh yeah, it's just the veneer you're taught to put on, to be a man, be tough, don't show weakness. But here's what I'm learning. as men, we're humans and we do have emotions. And whether you know about them or you ignore them, they are there. And how you navigate the storms of life are going to have a great part to do with your connection with those emotions and whether you've got a hold of yourself or not. You notice in the story here, Jesus is there in the boat with his disciples. The storm comes up. Life is full of storms. They're going to come. They came for the disciples and Jesus. They're going to come for you and me. To live is to encounter storms. There's no way around it, okay? It's going to happen. But notice when the storm comes, Jesus, being fully God and fully man, he is asleep. He's not even bothered by the storm. He's in control. He's God in human flesh. Now, it would also be easy to say, oh, he's God, of course he's not bothered by a storm because he's God. Well, you have to understand that when Jesus came and put on the human flesh and walked this earth, he, put away part of his godhood and his deity, and he became as a man. And he had to learn and grow and deal with emotions, and he was hungry and he felt pain and he was tempted in all points like as we are. So, don't dismiss the manhood of Jesus because he's God, because he was very much limited to what you and I have as a man while he was here on this earth. He chose to limit himself so that he could identify with you and me. Okay, so Jesus, in this story, Jesus is in control. The storm comes, the winds are blowing, Jesus is asleep. The disciples are panicking. Now, excuse me, I want to apply this to you and me. Coming from a broken home, without a father, without healthy connection, without being taught how to understand yourself and the world, you and I can often be like these disciples. We want a calm sea. I don't want a storm. I don't want hiccups. I don't want problems. I want my life to be under control, consistent, steady, no problems, no opposition, no criticism. I want a steady, peaceful life. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to control the outside world and even other people and all of these things. If I can just get everything to stay calm and steady, I'll be okay. That's, in this story, that's the way I see the disciples. And that's how I can tend to want to be, is I want everything to chill, be in control. I want everything to be stable, so on and so forth. But of course, what's going to happen is I can't control the outside world. I can't stop storms from coming my way. It's going to happen. I can't control other people or what they do or don't do to me or expect of me or say to me or whatever. So rather than being like the disciples who are panicked and alarmed and out of control when things get out of control, our goal and our desire is to look at Jesus. We want to be like Jesus. We want to follow Jesus. So Jesus in this story, he's in control. You notice he's God and he's man. He's fully God, fully man. He's in control. He knew there was a storm. Even though he's asleep, he knows that there's a storm. He's God. He knows all things, and he's not bothered by it. And in fact, his sleep is not even broken. He's in control in this situation. And of course, the disciples wake him up. He rebukes the wind and waves. Everything calms down, and lesson learned. Story resolves. The goal for you and me, guys, as men who are trying to be healthy, whole, godly men and grow into being healthy fathers. The goal for you and me is to be like Jesus in this story, to, in a moment of truth, we're all just like those disciples. We want to control the world out there. We want everything to be okay. And then when things get upset, we get upset and we lose our cool. And life can feel that way. I remember being young, broke, not having any money. I still get that way a lot of times now. I'm still not a wealthy person by any means. I know the hardships of life, just, trying to pay the bills, trying to hold everything together. It seems like everything breaks faster than I can ever fix it. I just constantly my list of things to fix and do and repair just gets longer by the day as long as I live. It's amazing how long the list of things to do becomes. But what we want to do is we want to become like Jesus. We want to become okay with how things are. Someone has said, things turn out the best for those who make the best of how things turn out. Our goal, guys, is to become healthy, whole people like Jesus in this story. That, yeah, the storms are going to come, life's going to happen, other people are going to tread on me, bad things are going to come my way, I'm going to get thrown some curveballs in life. But what I need to do is I need to regulate my emotions. I need to learn to be a mature believer. I need to be first anchored in Jesus. You see, the disciples, they're anchored in Jesus because they're following Jesus. That's what disciple means, a follower of Jesus. They have Jesus in their boat. So we need to, as men, we want to have Jesus in our boat. We want to be anchored in him. And then we want to be like Jesus was to those disciples. We want to be the anchor as men in our families. To our wives and to our children, when the storms come, you want to be that one who's stable in that storm, like Jesus was here in this boat. You and I, God has appointed us as priests and leaders of our home and as men. He's appointed us to be that steady, stable anchor in that storm. And we have to get that from him, from God. We get it from knowing, being anchored in Jesus. We also get it from being anchored in relationships with other people. You notice the fellowship here among Jesus and the disciples. It's not a one-man show. They actually have community there. They're there for each other. Jesus being the center of it all, of course. And, hopefully you have a healthy church family you're attending, and you have healthy people in your life that you can go to in times of need, and you have fellowship and some help. But, I'm aware that in this modern age, like I was just starting the video with, we're in a loneliness epidemic. Many people just simply don't have anyone. So God has given us the gracious technology that we're now using right here. And hopefully I can be that friend to you if you don't have one. Thank God for technology. The goal, guys, is for you and I to be like Jesus. We want to become stable, healthy, mature people who can endure the storms of life, because they are going to come. Now, before I finish up, I just want to mention that I have been learning about this. I'm learning I have complex trauma issues and emotional attachment issues and just all kinds of things. And this is raw with me because I'm just learning it myself. But I want to encourage you that, if you don't have, hopefully you have Jesus in your life. Hopefully you have some godly friends and family and church members in your life that you can go to help you anchor and work through your issues and show you, who you are to yourself, help you work through things. But, use the technology, use this YouTube. I use YouTube every day. I learn everything on YouTube, and there are some great people on here that you can learn a lot from. One of them is Dwayne Noel, Dry Creek Wrangler School. Concerning therapy, there's Tim Fletcher. There's a lady, her channel's called Therapy in a Nutshell. There's another lady called Heidi Priebe, and they do a lot of work on complex trauma. And I just want to encourage you that if you come up in a broken home or alcoholic home, or maybe you didn't have a dad, and maybe you find yourself, just constantly being thrown off base and knocked sideways and, panicked and alerted and alarmed, and just the storms of life just keep throwing you a loop and you can't get an anchor. I want to encourage you, first to anchor yourself in, hopefully in Jesus, hopefully in community and fellowship with people in your life. But if you, at the very least, get on the technology here and educate yourself. Do the hard work of taking the trip within, because you may have some complex trauma issues that you're not even aware of that are rocking your boat in a way that you don't even understand. And I know that you want to be like Jesus. You want to be that stable anchor of a man for your family and for your friends and your loved ones. That's what God has called us and designed us to be, is, like Jesus. We're made in his image. We're called to be, the men in our homes. I know you want to be stable, but if you're having a hard time being stable in an unstable world full of storms, find Jesus, find fellowship in your life, and educate yourself on what issues you may have. You can begin doing self work, exploring yourself and your issues. Learn to, get stable amidst the storm. Learn to regulate yourself and your emotions. See, that's really the goal here, guys. The goal is not to get our lives in complete, perfect order. It's never going to be that way. The storms are always going to come. In fact, one day a storm's going to come so bad it's going to take you out of here, and you're going to meet God if you know Him, okay? Yeah, all of us are going to leave this earth in this physical form. We're going to meet God and Jesus, and we're going to be judged. And, you know, the goal is not to calm the storms. The goal for you and I is to become stable in the storm like Jesus, a healthy, whole person who can regulate my emotions amidst the turmoil of life. And, this video is already getting long, so I'm going to wrap it up here. We'll talk much, much more about all this. I am no therapist. I am no counselor. I'm trying to learn, though, because I'm trying to work through my stuff. And I'm trying to, the story I've shared here with you today, this little minute, this little lesson, is exactly what God's been trying to show me. I'm just sharing with you what God's been sharing with me, that, Curtis, you need to become that anchor in the storm. You need to be able to regulate yourself and be okay even when life is not okay. So thank you for being here today. Thank you for your time in watching this video. Please comment down below if this resonates with you. If there's anything, concerning this topic that you would like me to dig further into. I'm really heavily dependent on you guys for your feedback concerning what things you would like to discuss or share. Because this is only my second video, and so I don't know what I'm doing here, and I'm just trying to be a light in the darkness, trying to be a father to the fatherless, trying to be the change that I want to see in the world, trying to be for you what I wish someone had been for me. So I love you. Jesus loves you more. And thank you for your time, guys. Comment down below, and I look forward to it. If this has been of any value to you, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel, and you'll be notified on the next video. Thank you, and God bless you. And you can be okay when life's not okay.